Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you an OP Eldritch Knight fighter build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. So the Eldritch Knight is one of the least talked about, I think, in terms of the builds for fighter, because typically the Battle Master or the Champion are two of the better ones, but I'm going to be showing you some really effective ways to make the Eldritch Knight a very powerful class in Baldur's Gate 3. So got the nice Oathbreaker Paladin here. So fighting style, this is up to you how you want to build it, but I personally think that going with defense gives you a +1 armor class while wearing armor, because we're always going to be wearing armor, is great. You can go with the 2-weapon fighting, but I think that it's better to use a shield for this particular build. So we're going to go with the defense, as I think that works the absolute best. And protection can be an option when you have shield imposed disadvantage on attacks against your allies within 1.5 meters. But we're going to be moving around a lot, so I think that defense ends up being the better option here. So I am using the gauntlets that increase our dexterity to 18, but you can also go with the gauntlets that increase your strength to 21. So either of these is really great for Act 3, but if you're not in Act 3, I would recommend keeping your strength, intelligence, and your constitution as your highest stats. For me personally, I'm just going to dump my dexterity here, since I'm going to be having it at 18 no matter what my dexterity is. So that allows me to put my intelligence up. We're going to knock the wisdom down as well, as you get more out of running something like this, having our dexterity, wisdom, and charisma tanked. Obviously dexterity has some benefits, but with this gauntlets it just works out perfectly in our advantage. You could also dump strength and use the hill giant potions, but I'm going to be using the bloodlust potions in Act 3, which give you a action after eliminating an enemy, so I think that one just works better overall. So getting into the bulk of things, our level 3 is when we get to choose our fighter subclass, but for level 2 we get action surge. You know what action surge is, gives us another action. It's very powerful, especially on this build. So for our subclass, this is when we are going to go with the Eldritch Knight. Now the Battle Master has a lot of usefulness, but we get our nice fairy fire. I'm running a drow here. So for cantrips, we're not really focusing too much on overall damage output. Blade Ward can be nice, so you only take half damage from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing attacks. That can be nice, and Firebolt's just good for utility, because it's not going to be our main source of damage, but it's nice to be able to light things on fire. If you're the face of the party, Friends can be a really great cantrip. I also want to talk about Minor Illusion, because this is great to group enemies together, but I'd rather have that on something like a wizard who could drop a fireball on that area. So for our level 1 spells, we're going to go with Magic Missile. What's nice about Magic Missile is the fact that it doesn't really scale well with our intelligence, so even if we dumped our intelligence, we'd still be able to use this pretty well. You can also get a circlet that it brings your intelligence up to 17 if you want to dump intelligence and go about it that way. But I think that Magic Missile ends up being one of the stronger ones here. Now, we're not going to be mainly a caster. We're going to be using a few different strategies here. So for our next spell, I like Thunderwave. This isn't a damage spell. Let me remind you that this is all about that thunderous push, so knocking enemies off cliffs. High ground advantage is huge in Baldur's Gate 3, especially with Thunderwave. Very powerful. So we also get an expanded wizard spell here. So False Life can be pretty nice to give you temporary 7 health points. Find Familiar, I think, is kind of what I like to have, just for having extra ability to draw aggro from enemies away from our other teammates. It's nice to have that. Chromatic Orb is good for damaging, but again, we're not focused too much on damage. Long Strider is another really great spell to use, and it causes... This one can be, it's a ritual spell, so we don't have to worry about channeling it on and off. Enhanced Sleep and Long Stride are two very powerful ones that we want to take, but I'm going to go with Find Familiar, because it's nice just to have that extra ally to spread aggro with. And we also get the Bound Pact weapon there, so thrown weapons will return to us, and that's where level 4 really comes to shine. So we get our feat, and for our spell slot, it's really up to you. Protection from good and evil can be decent in certain instances. Shield is what we're going to be going with here. Now, Shield, when you're about to be hit by an enemy, increase your armor class by 5. That's huge. And you take no damage from Magic Missile. So this is a great reaction to have, and it only uses a level 1 spell slot. So we're going to go with Shield. In terms of our feat, this is where the build comes together. We're actually going to be going down here to take Tavern Brawler. Reason for this being, when you make an unarmed attack, use an improvised weapon or throw something, big emphasis on throw something here, your strength modifier is added twice to the damage and attack rolls. And then we're going to bump our strength up to 18, giving us a +4, and then that's going to be a +8 to our thrown weapon attacks. And we've got some really great options here, as everything that we throw is going to return to us with that packed weapon that we got from being the Eldritch Knight. So this is very powerful. It can come together and make this build extremely powerful. So we're going to go with that, round our strength off at 18, and that's where this build really gets interesting. So class 5, we get our extra attack, so this is really nice to have. Our race spell really just depends. I would recommend as a tiefling for this build, because tieflings get the smites, which are really nice just to have for overall damage output, because you're going to be up close anyways. So I would recommend going with that personally, but again, it comes down to whatever race you want to play as for role-playing purposes. As we get into level 6, this is when we get another feat, so this is quite nice. Personally, I think that since we took Tavern Brawler, we should take the ability improvement, but I just want to highlight that alert is really, really great. It gives you a +5 to initiative, and you can't be surprised. If you're doing an honor mode run, surprised can end your runs, so we don't want that. Alert's great, but for me, I think we're going to take our strength up to 20. Since I'm not using the potions for increasing our strength, typically what I would do for a build if it's focused around strength is to dump strength and use the potions of the Hill Giant. These can be farmed in Act 3, but it puts your strength up to 27, which is higher than what we can do with this. So very powerful, because especially with Tavern Brawler, it's going to add a huge damage boost to our attacks. But we're just going to go with that, +5 to our strength checks. Very nice. So that's pretty good for that there. Level 11 is when this fully comes online, but then I'm going to be showing you guys something really interesting that we can do on our 12th level, so stay tuned to the end for that. We get War Magic. After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. This is really nice, so it's going to have some synergy later on, which I'll talk about. This is when we unlock our level 2 spell slots, so this is kind of nice. We get some more options in terms of what we can do. Scorching Ray can be nice, but it's tough. I think that something like Dimension Doors is really best. Arcane Lock, Gust of Wind, summon a strong wind that clears all clouds and pushes creatures back 5 meters. This can be good. We typically want to go with something more utility based as a Eldritch Knight, since our intelligence is only at a +2 to intelligence checks. It's not going to be our main source of damage. So Gust of Wind can be really nice to push creatures off of if you're near a cliff, you can kind of jump around, draw enemies to you, and push them away with this. That's kind of what we're focusing on. Scorching Ray can be okay. Burning Hands as well. We're going to go with that. Chromatic Orb can be another optional one, but we're not going to be dealing massive amounts of damage with that, but it can be nice if we got something that's weak to fire. As we get into level 8 here, we are gaining some more expanded spells. So this is where we can get something that's useful for crowd control, like Hold Person. I'm a huge fan of that, but I think that Misty Step is really the best option for us here. So the reason I like Misty Step is it's a bonus action, but allows you to teleport to anywhere. So this is great. As I said with that last one, we got that wind. We can teleport behind people and push them off ledges. It leads to some really, really nice synergy between some other options that we got here. So Magic Weapon really is really the only other one that I would like. It gives a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, so that's pretty useful, ensuring that you're going to hit more targets, deal more damage. It's another concentration, but I really like Misty Step, just for the ability to move around the battlefield pretty freely. Cloud of Daggers can be good, but that's, again, not something that we're overly focused on. You'll probably have someone else that has Cloud of Daggers. I usually love that, but I think that the Misty Step is very useful in this instance. Mirror Image can be okay too. Magic Weapon, I guess those are kind of the big ones there. We get another ability improvement here, so we can go with something like Sentinel here, since we're going to be coming into close range, and we're still a fighter. We're still dealing damage up close, so this can be nice because it gives us a reaction whenever enemies try to get out of being close to us. So we're typically going to be going after mages because they're going to try and run from us. So Sentinel's great. If not, I would take the Constitution up to probably 18 with an ability improvement, but I really like just Sentinel overall. If you're using Polearms, Polearm Master can be nice too, but I want to talk a little bit about weapons here at the end. As we're going to be doing throwing weapons, there's some really great choices. There's the electricity throwing item that we got that can deal electricity damage. Indomitable, so you have become as durable as an iron golem. Whenever you fail a saving throw, you can roll again using the new result instead. That just ensures that we're going to be passing more saving throws. Nothing else at this level, so on to the next one. And at fighter level 10, we're one away from getting all of our builds set up here. So we get Eldritch Strike. Whenever you make a weapon attack, it has disadvantage on its next saving throw against a spell you cast for the end of your turn. Not something we're going to be using a whole lot, but it can be nice for some synergies. For our next cantrip, I think Bone Chill can be pretty decent. Shocking Grasp is a nice one to stop them from using reactions. But I think Bone Chill is great, especially if you have something that you need to stop it from getting healed. You can Misty Step and use Bone Chill. Not like the most optimal, but it can be nice to just stop something from getting healing, especially if it's close to death and you just can't get enough heals it or get enough damage in on it. And it'll also have disadvantage on attack rolls, so that can be very useful. Now for our next spell slot, Darkness can be good if you have the ring that prevents blindness. So just really dependent on your build. Protection from good and evil. I'm going to end up taking Darkness, even though we already have that from my race of the Drow. Arcane Lock can be okay, but not really super useful. Shatter can be okay as well, but I think Darkness, just since we want more utility spells as an Eldritch Knight, we'll go with that. And fighter level 11, this is where everything comes together for the fighter. What's nice is we get that improved extra attack, allowing us to do 3 attacks. It's so useful. For our next spell, doesn't matter a massive amount. Chromatic Orb can be okay. Since we're only getting up to level 2 spells, there's not a whole lot that we can do. If you want Acid Arrow, you can go with that, or Burning Hands. It's not going to make a massive difference because we've already selected what we want as a fighter. So there that is. And for our final level, wait for it. All we get is an extra feat. Not the most useful. Like, we already kind of grabbed what we wanted in terms of feats. So we're going to add in another class, and we're going to go with a War Domain Cleric. Now, the reason for this being, you'll see in just 1 second, so there's a few different types of clerics, but I think the War Domain is nice. You do get Shield of Faith, which we already have. But subclass, War Priest, when you make an unarmed or weapon attack, you can spend a War Priest charge to make an additional attack as a bonus action. So multiple attacks. This is definitely better than a feat, so that's why we want to take that. We also get this Concentration Divine Favor, so that's pretty nice. We can choose a few different cantrips from the Cleric domain. Resistance can be okay. Guidance, your usual ones. Thaumaturgy, something maybe like that. If you don't have someone that has Bless, that can be nice. But concentrations, they're fine. Then you can choose whatever deity you'd like for this. We'll go with, where's Garl Glitter Gold? We'll go with Garl Glitter Gold. That's our deity of choice. And then for our final spell, Guiding Bolt can be okay. But I personally think that Healing Word is the spell that we want to take. Reason being, if one of your teammates gets downed, you can use this to get them from a range. You don't have to get up close to revive them. You can just use the Healing Word. Even though we're only getting 1 to 3 healing because our wisdom is dumped, it's still decent just to have that ability. But you could also have, if you dump strength and one with the potions, you can increase your wisdom up, so it'd be intelligence, wisdom, and constitution, which is kind of a silly build, but we're going to be having the strength and dexterity capped off by our items. So that is the multi-class build. Eldritch Knight is really powerful. I'm going to get into a little bit of gear and what we're going to be using for strategy here. So I like to have something that's a thrown item like this. We're going to be whatever we have is going to be bound to us, so we don't have to worry about losing the weapon. We're going to use the weapon bond here and magically bind the weapon. It returns you when thrown. With Tavern Brawler, very nice. So we had to look silly using a dagger and a shield, but the reason for that is this gives us the weapon enhancement. Enchantment +2. We get Hold Person as a spell, which is really nice just to have, since I didn't take it from the spell slots there. For helmets, I think that the Baldurin, Helmet of Baldurin's pretty great, so we'll go with that one there. I just like the look of the Oathbreaker helmet, so that's why I had it on there. Deathmant or Stalker, if you're the Dark Urge, this is great to have, but you can go with a different option as well. I like the Reaper's Embrace, gives us increased damage resistance and reduces all incoming damage by 2, so this is really powerful just for survivability. And then as we get into Our weapons here, I guess I should have had this as the gloves of dexterity there, so our dexterity's back up to max. We got an armor class of 23, which is pretty great. Boots of speed just for click heals, but this can be whatever utility you need. I like something like that. Amulet of Ball, so whenever we attack, if something is full health, we give it bleeding. Killer Sweetheart, the best ring in the game. If you kill something, you get a nice attack. You get a nice critical hit on attack roll, so this can be very useful. You can also hold on to that. So there it is, the Eldritch Knight. Really, the main strategy we're going to be employing here is just using your Misty Step to bounce around the battlefield, get in close to deal your damage, and then use your throwing items to really deal a lot of damage. So with Tavern Brawler, it's going to add that strength modifier to our attacks, makes this a very powerful class. So there it is, the Eldritch Knight in Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you in the next video.